While platinum-selling musician Jesse Clegg is back with a new single titled Called to Hear Your Voice. He's released 10 top 10 singles and been nominated for at least 5 South African Music Awards. Clegg has toured abroad, including performing at the Isle of Wight Festival in the UK. He's released 3 studio albums and is working on a new one. And he joins us in studio right now with my partner in crime, Morena Mutupi. Really can't wait to get his teeth on this conversation because he's quite a fan of it. I will leave it to you.
Well, Jesse, thank you so much for coming through. Call to hear your voice. I mean, there is usually a message in the title, and it flows into the lyrics of the song itself. Why that title?
Thanks for having me, man. It's great to be back. I was writing the song in Los Angeles. I've been working on my new album there, and I was away from home for 2 months. You know, I was missing the comforts of home, missing that special person. And it's really a song about that feeling where, you know, you're far away from home, and how when you call that person that means something to you, it's not just what you say on the call, it's actually just the sound of their voice that brings you back to yourself. So it's kind of a celebration of those connections that we have in life and how they kind of get us through the difficult moments and the lonely moments, and the fact that we have those connections that kind of traverse time and space.
Yeah, you know, as you're talking about the song, Jess, it reminds me of, is it Maroon 5, about I'm on a payphone trying to call home.
Yeah.
And the songs like this become so relatable because it's the human experience, right? I think at any moment in time we've experienced that level of loneliness and wanting to connect with somebody. How important is it now, especially for artists, to start focusing back on the lyrics, you know, and the messaging behind the music as opposed to just the beat?
Yeah, I think, you know, for me as a songwriter, I always try to write from my own life experience, and I try to write things that, you know, we all have experienced. You know, there's things in life, especially in the last few years, you know, we've all been wanting to connect, you know, we've all been isolated, and we've had this very strange and challenging sort of global situation, and it's created distance between us. And I think that that loneliness and that feeling of wanting to find someone and reach out and touch each other and connect with each other is something that we all relate to and that we can all feel. So for me, this song, I was experiencing it in real time because I was far away from home, and you know, there's something about, you know, writing from your own experience in a way that people can connect to that I think is so important. That's what I always try and do as an artist.
Why Los Angeles? Why is that where you're putting this body of work there?
I like to, I have a team of guys that I work with there. There's a great chemistry of artists that I have been collaborating with on my new album. I also wanted to kind of push myself and get out of my comfort zone. You know, I think as a South African artist, I've worked with a lot of people here. There's a lot of awareness of me. And when you go there, you know, you're like a small fish in a big sea, and you have to really bring your A game. And it really becomes more about the music than anything. You know, there's nothing that will convince anyone other than here's a great song. You know, so it really gives me an objective view of what I'm doing, and it puts me on, like, it puts me in a space where I know I have to bring my absolute best work. So I find that it's just stimulating. It's just nice to be out of your comfort zone and trying to work with new people, and you are hearing your music in a different way, which is very exciting.
What's the process like in the journey of being able to penetrate an international market? I think that a lot of artists in South Africa always try to reach out. I mean, everybody wants a global audience, right? Simply because if it translates, especially when it comes to revenue and sales, people want to reach out to as many people as possible to enjoy their body of work. But the international market has been something where if you've got it and if you can unlock it, then it's yours to have. But a lot of artists are struggling to find that key that opens the right door to unlocking that international listenership, so as it were. Though music may be ubiquitous, but taste unfortunately is not. So how do you do it?
I mean, you know, I think that you know, what a lot of young musicians don't realize is that this is really a marathon. It's not a sprint. You know, there is consistency and there's stamina. And I mean, I've been working there for a few years now. I've toured internationally, and it takes time, and it takes time to prove yourself. It takes time to build an audience and to connect with a group of people where they understand the story you're telling, and there's a language that you're speaking to your audience that only they really understand, and you build that community up. So I think it takes time, takes stamina, takes commitment, and also pushing yourself, you know, trying to get out of your comfort zone. You know, I think as South African artists we can be very you know, we can be comfortable here, and we can do our shows, and we can have our careers, But I think for me, I just want to move to the next level, and I think that takes a risk, and it takes courage, and it takes it takes the desire to do that, which is not for everyone. But I've really enjoyed it, and it's also pushed me and made me become a better artist, I think.
Before we let you, show us and let us experience what it is you have on offer, South African artists, some of them at least, and within their rights, have said that South African audience doesn't really receive them as well as the international audience would. They find that some of their songs have better airplay on Zimbabwean radio stations, Namibian radio stations, Botswana radio stations more than they do on these radio stations. Has that changed? Is that still there? Do you feel still a lot of love from here as you would abroad?
Yeah, I still feel a very deep connection to my home country, and I've been very fortunate that my music has connected with people over my career pretty consistently. I think radio is changing. I think music, the actual way people consume music is changing. People are streaming now on Spotify and Apple Music. Radio has become less of a priority, and people want to find their own music and make their own, curate their own playlists. So the challenge for musicians now is to try and stand out through all the noise. Where radio used to be, if you had a hit on radio, you have a hit. Now it's like there's many different ways to have a hit. You can have a hit on YouTube. You can have a hit on a specific platform that doesn't spread to radio. Some of the biggest artists in the world have had no radio play. They just exist on social media. So the platforms are changing, and as an artist, I don't feel like that's my job. I just want to write great songs. Yeah. I want to connect with people. I want to, work through my creative process without all the changing, shifting ground that happens around us. And I think as artists, it's important to keep that focus, because a great song will find its audience.
Oh, I like that. A great song will find its audience.
Yeah.
Jesse, we can't wait for that song. Called to Hear Your Voice is coming up very shortly. You will not want to miss this performance by Jesse Clegg coming up next.